Hi everyone.
Hi.
Welcome to English for You, and we are talking travel today. I'm Kat.
Yes, I'm Reese.
And yeah, like I said, we're doing a travel article.
Let's go on vacation.
Yeah, and it's within Taiwan today.
It is, so coronavirus won't stop us from going there.
Yeah, exactly. And especially this place is highly recommended. I've been there twice. I recommend you go there. And the title even says why Taiping Shan should be next on your travel list. I think so too.
I've heard of it, but I've never been.
It's beautiful. It's a great place to go.
Yeah, from reading the article, it sounds like a really magical place.
It's great and it's fun too. Like, it's not just like, oh, go to a mountain and walk around. There's things to do.
That's cool.
Yeah. So that's why we are talking about it today, but we want to know, what is there to do on Taiping Shan? So let's take a look at the article and find out.
Reading.
Why Taiping Shan should be next on your travel list. Taiping Shan is the crown jewel of Yilan's southern countryside. This striking mountain area is famous for its colorful trees, peaceful lakes, and misty forests. It was first a hunting ground for the Atayal people, and its forests survived years of Japanese logging. Some of the best views of Taiping Shan's magical slopes can be seen along Jianqing Historic Trail. This route follows an old Japanese railroad around the mountains. At any time of year, you can expect beautiful views. On clear winter days, for example, you'll catch sight of Dabajian Mountain's snowy peak. Later in spring, the path is lined with soft white sakura flowers. Anyone who feels tired after their hike here should head straight for Jiuzhize Hot Spring. This relaxing place was first built by the Japanese. The hot spring has a few bathing areas, one of which is cut out of a huge mountain rock. For a delicious snack, try one of the hot spring eggs, which you can boil in a woven basket using naturally heated water.
All right, so our article begins today by saying Taiping Shan is the crown jewel of Yilan's southern countryside. Very nice description. So if we say something is the crown jewel, we're usually saying that that thing is the most beautiful part or the most worthwhile part, the part that people are most proud of in that area or in that city or whatever the thing is. In other words, Taiping Shan is the most attractive feature of southern Yilan. I would agree. It's the thing you definitely need to experience. So we're saying that it is part of the crown jewel of the countryside. Now, countryside is our first vocabulary word here. Countryside is a noun that is kind of like country. The word country can mean a nation, like Taiwan or the US, or it can mean somewhere that's outside the city, a more rural part. So countryside is like the second meaning. It's the countryside of things. It's not the city side of things. The countryside is a place that isn't in the city. It's close to nature, or it is mostly nature. Usually it's quiet and pretty. It's green. It has villages and farms. It's really nice. The English countryside is also very famous, right?
It is. I grew up in the English countryside.
Oh, and was it very peaceful?
It was very peaceful, sheep and horses everywhere.
Oh, cool. So an example sentence for countryside. Gemma bought a little house in the countryside where she lives a peaceful life away from the noisy crowds.
Yeah.
That sounds nice.
It's so nice, although I think at this point in my life, I wouldn't be able to live there. It's a bit too quiet.
Oh, boring?
Yeah, it's nice to get away from the city sometimes, but I do like living in the city.
Yeah.
Well, the article continues. It tells us more about Taiping Shan. It says, this striking mountain area is famous for its colorful trees, peaceful lakes, and misty forests.
Ooh.
Wow.
Sounds magical.
Some really nice adjectives here. Let's talk about one of those adjectives. It's the word striking. It's such a cool word. Not that kind of striking, like hitting somebody. Striking is an adjective, and striking means attracting attention because it is unusual, extreme, special, or prominent. That means important. If you describe something as striking, that thing could be surprising in its uniqueness or beauty. We often use this word to talk about beautiful landscapes like Taiping Shan. People with unusual but beautiful facial features could also be called striking.
Yeah.
Or even an interesting piece of art you could describe as striking. We can also use striking to describe ideas and words too. A story or a poem could be striking. So here's an example sentence. The painting was striking because of its unusual art style.
So couldn't you also say that it struck you?
It did. I was struck by the art.
Like you look at it and you're like, wow.
Yeah, kind of like you get struck by lightning. Like you're struck because it's so impressive and awesome.
Yeah. All right. So, of course, something striking has got to be famous, right?
It must. Well, not always, but we can talk about famous things. What does it mean to be famous for something? Let's talk about that. So here we have the phrase to be famous for. To be famous for means to be known for. If you are famous for something, that thing is the reason that many people know who you are. Things can be famous for something too. So Taiwan is famous for its night markets and bubble tea. The UK is famous for the royal family and fish and chips. Jolin Tsai is famous for singing pop music. You could be famous for many different things. What am I famous for? Working on For You. Be famous for. Done. Yep. What about this word Misty? Now, we're not talking about the character from the Pokemon series.
No, although I don't think she's called that in Taiwan.
Probably not. It's Ash's best girlfriend.
Well, the female water trainer.
Yes.
Say, yeah.
She has Squirtle and Lapras and
Togepi.
Togepi.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're not talking about her. We're talking about the adjective misty, which means to be covered with mist. Mist is kind of like fog, when water goes into the air, when it's very moist and humid, and it can make it difficult to see a long way when the air is misty. So I think parts of Taiping Shan are very often misty.
Yes, because it rises very high in the sky. So it's almost like the clouds kind of meet the mountain, and that's where you get mist. Yeah. So Taiping Shan is very misty, it's very striking, it's famous for lots of things. So the article says, it was first a hunting ground for the Atayal people, and its forests survived years of Japanese logging. So first we have to talk about who are the Atayal. We call these the Taiyazhu in Chinese. So they are one of the tribes of Taiwan, living around the areas of Miaoli and Yilan. There is actually an Atayal museum in Miaoli, which is interesting to go to. So yeah, it was, thousands of years ago, maybe hundreds of years ago, the Atayal people used it for hunting. And then the Japanese came and took over Taiwan for a little while, and they used it for logging. Now, logging is a noun that means the practice of cutting down trees for use in production with saws or with axes or something like that, just cutting down a lot of trees. Trees that are cut down are called logs, so cutting down trees is logging them. And people who do this are called foresters, loggers, or even lumberjacks.
Great word.
Yeah, I love that word. There are many forests in the world that are used by loggers. It's important, though, to be responsible with how many trees are cut down and how many get planted back in the same place. So logging can lead to environmental destruction, but not if it's done responsibly. But apparently Taiping Shan, was logged a lot, but now it's covered in trees, so I guess it did okay. So here's an example sentence for logging. Too much logging turned this once green forest into an area where almost nothing now lives. Very sad.
I think that's unfortunately true of many places in the world.
Yeah, but fortunately not true for Taiping Shan. Yeah.
Well, the article continues with some of the best views of Taiping Shan's magical slopes can be seen along Jianqing Historic Trail.
I think it's Jianqing.
Jianqing. We'll go with it. Jianqing Historic Trail. So let's talk about this word slope. S-L-O-P-E. Slope is a noun, and a slope is a surface which has one end higher than the other. If you put a ball at the top of the slope, it will roll down to the bottom. So some roads can be slopes or sloping, and they can take you higher or lower. Slope can also mean part of the side of a hill or mountain, which is the way that it's used in the article. The slopes of Taiping Shan are the hills and the sides of the mountain. Here's an example sentence. I love riding down the long slope that leads to the park on my bicycle.
And when I think of slopes, mountain slopes, I often think of skiing.
Right, you can ski on the slopes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're great for that. Now, the article goes on, this route, or the Jansing Old Historic Trail, follows an old Japanese railroad around the mountains.
Cool.
I've been on this. It's really cool. It's a little less than a kilometer long. It's not very long, but it is very pretty. And there are some old railroad tracks, which are no longer being used.
So cool.
And there's also bridges that you have to go across, like really deep canyons, and you go across a rope bridge. It's kind of dangerous, but it's kind of fun.
I want to try.
Yeah, you should do it. All right, so that's what we know about the Jansing Historic Trail. And now we're going to learn about what is a route or a route. All right, when we're talking about a route or a route, you can say it either way. This is a noun that means a road or a path that leads somewhere or takes you on a journey. Many routes are highways that go across states and country lines, like Route 66 is a very famous one in the US that is now a highway from Chicago to Los Angeles. Others are routes that take you through nature, like trails and footpaths. That's the kind you'll find on Taiping-san. This route or route goes along the old train tracks. Also, it crosses some bridges. So, an example sentence for route. The route from here to California takes many hours to drive, so we'll stop for the night on the way.
Well, the article continues now, and it says, at any time of year, you can expect beautiful views. On clear winter days, for example, you'll catch sight of Dabajian Mountain's snowy peak.
Ooh.
Oh, it sounds so pretty. I would love to go. And winter's here, so could be a good time to go.
Yeah, exactly.
So what does this phrase, to catch sight of, mean? Well, it means to see something suddenly, or to suddenly notice that something is there, usually for a short amount of time. If you catch sight of a mountain peak, that means it suddenly appears, maybe even surprising you a little bit. I caught sight of the Queen once when I was driving through London.
Really? What was she doing?
She was getting out of a limousine.
Wow. And she wasn't surrounded by guards so nobody could see her?
I'm not sure what she was doing, but she was getting out of a car and she was going into a big fancy building. So
well, it sounds like a Queen thing to do.
It's a very Queenie thing to do. And I only saw her very briefly because we were driving past, so I just caught sight of her.
Oh, cool. All right, so let's see. If we catch sight of Dabajin Peak when it's snowy, you can also see things other times of year too. It says, later in spring, the path is lined with soft white sakura flowers. Yeah, that sounds nice.
Sakura.
I went there in April and they didn't have any at that time, so I think it must be earlier in the year.
Okay.
So sakura, if you guys don't know, is those famous cherry blossoms, which Japan is most famous for, but Taiwan also has many, many beautiful, beautiful sakura viewing places, including Taiping-san. Yeah.
I've never been to Japan during sakura season.
Neither have I.
But I've heard that it's incredibly busy.
That's what I've heard too, that many of the parks get just, overflowing. Yeah. You're not going to find a place.
It does look pretty though.
Yeah.
Well, the article tells us more. It says anyone who feels tired after their hike here should head straight for Jiuzhizi Hot Spring.
That's such a hard thing to say.
Jiuzhizi. I think I did okay.
Yeah, you did.
Well, we have a grammar point here to talk about, so let's do that. So let's talk about this grammar point using phrases such as those who or anyone who. It's quite an interesting grammar point. So using a subject noun or pronoun followed by the word who, we can talk about that group of people generally and the things that they are doing. We can express this in two ways, anyone who and those who. These have two different meanings. Those who means those people who, and can be used in this way. So, those who exercise regularly often feel healthier in both body and mind. It's kind of the same as saying people who exercise regularly. Here's another example. Eric is among those who start learning a language but give up soon after. So when we use those who, we're talking about many people generally here. Anyone who can also mean the person who, which means one person, but we don't know which one person. It's talking about one person as an example of something. Like in the article, it says, anyone who feels tired should head for this hot spring. So what it's really saying is the person who feels tired should head for this hot spring. We're not talking about specifically one person, a guy named Bill, but anyone who is feeling that way. In other words, if you feel tired during the hike, you should go there.
All right, so yeah, we're talking now about 九子的 hot spring, which I've also been to. It's very nice.
You've been everywhere.
Well, I've been on Taipingshan. It's one of the main places on Taipingshan. So this relaxing place was first built by the Japanese. It is very nice. It's very relaxing. Although it kind of smells like eggs.
I like that smell.
Because it's a hot spring. But we're talking about relaxing. This is an adjective that means something that relaxes you or is relaxing. It makes you feel calm. It makes you feel peaceful. Maybe even kind of sleepy. And it kind of gets rid of your stress and helps you relax. It's relaxing. That's what hot springs are pretty much for. Like you get in one and you're just like,
Now that it's winter in Taipei, I go to the hot springs like once a week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for you.
When in Rome.
Yeah, as you would. So yeah, you can go to 九子的 on Taipingshan and get something relaxing. Yeah, so here's an example sentence for that. After I got home, I took a relaxing bath and then felt great for the rest of the evening. Yes.
It's a great thing to do before going to sleep.
Yes, that's true.
The warmth of the water kind of makes you tired in a really comfortable way.
Yeah, and your muscles kind of go like, they release all their stress. Yeah.
Lovely. Well, the article tells us more about the hot springs. It says the hot spring has a few bathing areas, one of which is cut out of a huge mountain rock. Did you see that one as well?
Yeah, I didn't go in it, but I have seen it. It's like a really big black rock.
I've been to Yilan, but not to Taipingshan. And I went to kind of the Yilan surrounding towns.
Like Jiaoxi?
I was in one this weekend. I don't remember the name. I think it was Jiaoxi.
Okay.
It was kind of like, there were loads of like small rivers and stuff around the town. And there was one part of the town center where there were like free hot springs.
I know Jiaoxi is famous for its cold springs too.
Ooh, that doesn't sound very good.
Well, not right now, but in the summer it would.
True.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, Taipingshan has its own hot spring. It's very, very nice. And there's even more. For a delicious snack, try one of the hot spring eggs, which you can boil in a woven basket using naturally heated water.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I've tried one of those before.
Yeah, you can get eggs, and I think you can also bring your own vegetables. Like you can use corn, I think, other stuff like that. But you kind of gotta be careful because the water gets used by the same people, and there's like lots of broken eggs in there and stuff like that.
I see.
So I would just stick with eggs. But it is really cool because like it's very, very, very hot water that you can dip like your basket in with your eggs, and then you eat the eggs.
Cool. Really kind of like tea eggs, but made using spring water.
Yeah. I mean, I think they have a pretty nice taste. Yep. So that's the first day of things to do on Taipingshan. Of course, there's even more because it's a really big mountain. So we're going to see that in day 2. So for now, let's go ahead and look at our For You chat.
For You chat.
For You chat question today is very active. And it's a good question for us because we live in Taiwan.
That's true.
A place full of mountains. Where is your favorite place to go hiking? Describe it.
I like Tiger Mountain, Husan. Yeah, I like to go there because it's very close to like MRT stations, and there's a temple on the mountain. There's a few temples on the mountain, and it's just like a really nice hike in terms of it doesn't take too long, but it's also not too short. Yeah, and it's a beautiful, beautiful mountain.
It is.
Yeah.
It's very nice. I mean, I guess it's kind of obvious, but Yangmingshan, I really like it. You know, it's a huge mountain area.
Yeah.
And I went up to, I think it's Qixingshan, the highest
Oh,
point.
the where the sheep are.
Yeah. And going up there, like, you've got such interesting geography because you have kind of the sulfuric stones that are like letting off this smelly gas. And there's like a backwards waterfall there. Have you seen it?
What?
There are like these kind of areas of rock where a lot of gas is escaping and it kind of flows upwards and like over the mountain. And it looks like a backwards waterfall.
It's like a vapor fall. Vapor rise.
It's so cool. And then when you get to the top of Qixingshan, the views of like the meadows are so cool.
I've seen pictures of them. I have yet to go up there.
Very nice, like rolling, beautiful hills. And it's just so green and pretty up there.
Cool. Sounds really great. Yeah.
Well, you guys live in Taiwan probably, and you've probably been on some interesting hikes. So you guys can think about your favorite hike and maybe try and describe it in a really beautiful and descriptive way.
Yeah, tell us all about what you can see, what you like to do.
And what you can smell as well, because these mountains are often quite smelly.
Yeah, smelly mountains. Maybe some cow pies.
I'm thinking more of sulfur.
Oh yeah, sulfur as well.
Eggy.
All right, so let's say goodbye for now. We'll see you for day 2 tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Vocabulary Review. Countryside. When Ross turned 18, he left his family's farm in the countryside and moved to a big city. Striking. The movie star looked striking in her diamond necklace and beautiful red dress. Logging. The trees in this forest were all cut down by companies in the logging industry. Slope. If you look up, you can see a few houses on the slope of the mountain. Route. Route. My friend wanted to know how to get to my house, so I drew the route on a map. Relaxing. When my body feels sore, I like to spend a relaxing hour in a hot bath.
智慧小补帖
Misty.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net